For a lot of sports, they have their own unique characteristics that exist that allow people to grow an interest in them. For tennis, these exact same characteristics or traits apply to it as well. For many people, they think of tennis as a sport where you use a stick and you hit a ball with to gradually just hit it to the other side. But it's actually much more complex and a lot more strategic than just running around and simply hitting a ball to the other side. Three things that contribute to players' health and what they do in the tennis court to actually strategize and perform well is their workout routines, the forms they use, mastering that, and also mastering the type of courts they play on. So, firstly, about the workouts, it's mainly what players consume and also how they operate because they cannot bulk up whatsoever because they need to be agile. They need to be jumping up, they need to be bending down, they need to be sprinting back and forth, and there's no jogging really. You have no breaks. So having a lot of stamina is key. Now, according to Sarah Unk, who is an author of the tennis article, she starts talking about what players should consume during their workouts. And she says that eat a snack that has a 3-to-1 carb protein ratio. Also, weigh yourself before and after a workout. And then also, drink 20 to 24 ounces of water for every pound you've lost to rehydrate. Doing this not only optimizes your stamina, but it allows you to keep your muscles at a certain point so you don't bulk up. And that's why we're not consuming too much protein as well. Workouts are honestly pretty cardio based, and making sure that they remain that way is of key importance. Next is the clay courts and the concrete courts. They're huge impactors for the match. It's not just the material, but with clay, you slide around a lot and it's also not firm. So you gotta be used to not having your feet really planted on the ground because on concrete, you're used to just planting your feet on the ground and hitting the ball over with your different forms. But it's completely different because of the texture and of the ground being made of legit particles. It completely changes the style of the game. That's why some people play better on clay rather they do on concrete. And they even call one of the players, Rafael Nadal, the king of clay because he is adapted to clay the most and performs actually the best on it and has played one of the best games on it. Caroline Martin, on her scholarly journal, slower surfaces such as clay courts are characterized by higher friction and restitution coefficients than faster surfaces. This results in a high and relative gentle and slows down the ball. Basically, it was a lot of explanation and kind of like worded in a weird way, but basically she was also talking about the impact of the ball and what it has on the clay and concrete court. So on the clay, it will be slower, not as high of impact, but on the concrete, it's the complete opposite. On concrete, there's no really friction. There's no real friction or there's no real disturbance. So not only is it your movement that's being impacted, but it's also the projectile, the ball that's coming at you. And then lastly, the forehand, backhand, and overheads are all different types of forms and even slices. And basically, I'm also going to be demonstrating that as a visual today. So in the journal, authors Zimoit Bankozes, sorry, I'm probably butchering the names, very unique names, and Slavomir Winiarski decided to look at specifics in forehand and backhand, and where in forehand strokes, particular angular velocity of internal arm rotation and shoulder joint abduction in a moment of contact. Basically, what they're explaining is that as you're going through the form, and I have my tennis racket with me, as you're going through the forehand or if you're going through the backhand, what's going to happen is your shoulder joints are constantly going to be shifting, and that's the abduction. So as you're going through the form, when you rotate the racket up to finish the form, your shoulder is going to have an abduction. That's what they call it. It's basically when it's rotating. And same with slices. Slices actually comes in a hit like this. And what happens is it applies more of a spin and uses more of your forearm and a lot of your wrist as well, because you need to be applying a lot of the spin. And when I say wrist, I mean as this wrist over here. Obviously, whatever you're using. Or if your forehand is your left hand, which is your dominant hand, let's say, for lefties, then you hit it like this. So mainly based off not just like your muscle, but it depends on your shoulder, your forearm, and actually your wrist of key importance. It really shows though that with a lot more practice and dedication when coming into the sport, it truly shows the amount of strategy and the amount of thought and detail that needs to go in to the players and how much they need to actually concentrate and prepare for themselves. With tennis, these characteristics that are not fully apparent with little investment give us a whole new outlook on what the sport is actually. And in a way, we can kind of put that to everything in our world right now. And that's what I want to leave off with today, where if we see something and we kind of picture it in a certain way, let's not leave it at that. Let's always kind of alter it and see how we can learn more about it and actually learn what strategies it has. And it doesn't have to be a sport whatsoever, but just something in life that truly shows us that there's more thought and detail than to what meets the eye. Thank you.